What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Spark to Fire. I'm your host, Landon Rhodes, and today I've got my friend Tim Brown in the house. How you doing today, Tim?
Doing very good. Thank you so much for having me, Landon.
Good, dude. I'm glad you're here. So this is really interesting story of how I've ran into Tim, but it was because of his ridiculous memes on Facebook. You're becoming known for roofing memes, and I just wanted to wanted to congratulate you on reaching a status of after so much repetitive action. Like you're starting to make a name for yourself as someone who just your consistency with roofing memes is just off the charts.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah. I honestly it's like a craft. I'm not even a roofer, and it's funny. I do know a lot about roofing though, because for a while there we were offering video services, and I was out on roofing jobs and crawling up in attics and doing all kinds of stuff. So I learned a lot, and I think I have a little bit of an outsider point of view on it. There's a whole genre of memes about forklifts on Instagram. So there's gotta be a demand for roofing memes, and there is for sure from roofers. So they've enjoyed those at least. And then everyone that used to be friends with me on Facebook from previous lives is probably like, what is Tim doing now? Is he a roofer? I'm not a roofer. I'm a marketer, but yeah.
So talk a little bit about that. Talk about your business and how you got started with Hook Agency.
Yeah, so I have been doing some kind of web design originally for 8-9 years. I was doing it through college. I kind of started to pay my way through college at the end of college with some websites, and man, just good little stories from that. Like rented a desk. Like I remember biking to a bus to one of the music venues in town, and then biking away from there to get to the venue in time for my meeting, and being a little sweaty to close a $2,500 deal, and being just ecstatic when I got that deal. And those moments in early entrepreneurship just can't be replaced. It's those experiences where you just feel the hustle. And I had I didn't have a car at that time. So just the progression from that 8-9 years ago till now to being able to have an 18-person team. 5 years ago, I went out on my own completely and had a couple of those first couple deals come through when you risked it all. Mm-hmm. Gave up $70,000 in salary or something to get out here and try this. And those first couple deals coming through, beautiful, beautiful moments. There's also just been a lot of pain. So I cannot, in good conscience, promote the idea of entrepreneurship. I think I can't be that guy, because I have had a lot of pain and headaches in this process. Now, talk to me in 20 years, I hope to have forgotten some of the worst parts of this first 5 years. As you and a lot of the listeners probably have experienced, there's been undue pressure on entrepreneurs. There's so much stress of whether it's you trying to juggle everything yourself, or whether you're just looking at that payroll that's about to hit and you don't have the cash flow. So I've experienced those things, and people leaving when you just spend a year training them, and all the things that come with entrepreneurship. So I can't in good conscience promote it. But if you are out here with me, solidarity, and me too. I'm going through a lot of this as well, and I'm grateful that you do have those breakthrough moments where a big influx of business comes in, or you get a dream client, and I've experienced both of those recently, and I'm feeling good about those things. And new problems. I always say you don't, it's a Grant Cardone thing, but I always say you don't want the same old problems. You want new problems. Right. Give me bigger problems. Because ultimately you're always going to have problems. And it's kind of a choose your hard. Mm-hmm. It's hard to sit there and laze around and not do shit and relax all the time. You get stressed out just from doing that, but it's also hard to be pushing, to be selling more than you ever have, to be trying to fulfill on that. And I just want new problems. But now we offer only 3 services, and we do it for a very niche audience. So it's been good, the niching process, and both the services level and the clientele level. And I think those things have really elevated our positioning with our ideal customers and allow us to like be experts at this one thing. And I think so search engine marketing and websites is our big thing. And we do it for a lot of roofers. So that's kind of, but everyone kind of goes through that niching process, or a lot of people go through that niching process over time, whether it's the services and they start to offer less services, or they do it for less people and they get more authoritative with those people.
Totally. And that's a really interesting way of putting it, is like how you can get authoritative with less people or narrow your search of really who you're looking for. Mm-hmm. So we've recently went through a very similar phase. Like we used to do organic social media, used to outwardly sell that a lot more. And more as of recently, it's something that we haven't offered as much of and stopped selling it. And obviously we've got legacy clients that we're still taking great care of, but it's just a matter of like, man, you kind of have to pick a path of where you're going. And it's super critical to do that so you can truly scale and be better at what you're currently doing, right? Instead of trying to be all things to all people. Yeah. So like, how did you find yourself falling into that trap? Because I can relate to that so much in the early stages of our business as well.
You want revenue and you don't have expertise in certain ways yet. I mean, like, here's the deal. Like, I wanted that revenue and I hired my wife. So, and what could she do with not a ton of training was do social media for clients. So that was how I fell into that trap a little bit, is like, and we chased the revenue thing. And it's very scary to say we're not going to do it for some people. We're just going to say no. Saying no to revenue is one of the scariest things in the world. Mm-hmm. But if you're really doggedly pursuing your best kind of customer, if you're really pushing, you know who they are. And for roofing companies, I always say, I'm thinking about roofing companies all the time, right? For roofing companies, maybe that's the 48-year-old married female, like busy professional, but runs the household too. Where is she? What channels is she on? Like, what social is she on? What does she want as far as content? That kind of thing. You're doggedly pursuing her, and maybe you get this random commercial roofing project that's like, but you start to get scattered, right? You've got 5 things happening now, and you're not doing any of them the best in your market. So I think it's scary to turn down revenue, but if you can occasionally, I think it really channels your effort. And I think I've been trying to figure out, how do we be the best at one thing that we possibly can be? Like, I want to be the best in the world at this one thing. And what can you do? Either you ramp it up and you spend stupid amounts of money to hire crazy, weird experts, or you specialize in less things or for less people, and you go into basically a smaller pond. Mm-hmm. And I'm so glad that I didn't. I'm so glad that I didn't do that right away, because I learned so much from out here, like wealth management companies and medical device companies and all these different people. Restaurants and all this stuff. I'm so glad that I had that experience, because now I can apply all that for these roofers that we're working with a lot. So I think you don't have to force it. You don't have to force it. What I would suggest is saying, like, how could I do a little bit more of that next month? How could I specialize with my content a little bit more next month? How could I specialize with, just think about it. If you could get 2 more of those kind of customers that you're the absolute best in the world at that thing, or you're getting close to it. Mm-hmm. If you could get 2 more of those, then like the knowledge starts to go so much further.
Right.
Because all the processes are built for that person. You don't have to reproduce effort every single time, you do something for them. So the value goes further with less effort. Right. For that customer. So at that point, it's not even about sales and marketing anymore. And that's a beautiful thing. I realized I went into this a little bit for sales and marketing. Or I originally started to pursue the idea of a niche for that. And I've realized it's so much more. It's processes. It's my people are going to be less burned out. It's everything because they already know how to do that thing and they don't have to learn it every time. And you as an entrepreneur, Landon, and everyone else that's watching this, you're probably special. You're probably unusual. You're probably an above average performer. And not everyone that you hire is going to be quite that, weird. You're a little weird, usually if you're an entrepreneur. And so like understanding that, being okay with the fact that they don't have to be that, like niching helps with that, I think. So
that's good. That's
I guess I'm just a niching evangelist now.
Yeah, dude. And I am on the service side. We haven't necessarily done it on the clientele side, but on the service side, I'm right there with you. I mean, my goodness, it's had massive impact on our business as well. And so when you guys were first getting started and you were doing all these different things and you started narrowing down, you mentioned SEO before we kind of started the call. You mentioned that SEO kind of became one of your first loves in marketing. And I just want you to talk through that a little bit. What made you discover SEO and why are you so passionate about it today specifically?
Yeah, I think I just Googled how to get people to website for free or something. Like whatever like I Googled at the beginning. What's that?
Just like the typical like caveman Google search. Like what is market?
Exactly.
What is marketing?
Yeah, exactly. And the first things I saw were like, okay, so you have to write a blog. And you have to write alt tags on images. And like a couple of the first things I wrote were like essentially stuff I would have wanted, but I couldn't find. And it wasn't for my ideal customer yet. It was just for me. I was just writing stuff for me. And it was like, honestly, it was like, I was looking for like hipster fonts or something. You know what I mean? Like stylish, modern fonts. And so I just like made blog posts and I would like get the font and I'd screenshot it and then I would like put the alt text in and then like I let it sit. And it didn't really work for a while, but then those were the blog posts that actually did something. The ones where I was like doing images and doing alt text and kind of doing a little bit more like inspiration-y type stuff. And so, because that's hard to, I think it's because it's hard to scale because most people aren't doing images and like doing all this like curation.
Right.
They're trying to like do it with like somebody that doesn't have taste or something like that. So that was the first things that I would get traffic for. And I would start to get like 20, 30 people on my website a day. And I was stoked out of my mind. And I went and worked for a different company after college. That was during college and stuff like that. And I went and worked for them. They're a marketing company and they offered SEO and I was a web designer there. Mm-hmm. And I learned from them a lot. And I even tried to like get the SEO guy to like mentor me and he was too busy and was too cool for me, even though he's a nice guy. But I basically like took everything that they were doing and I tried to like see how I could do it on my website, my personal website, which was a portfolio for web design. And I ended up ranking, there's a couple aha moments in there. One being getting links from other websites, writing for other websites and linking back to your website. That was a pretty big aha. And another one was guides, doing big guides about topics that like there aren't already a bunch of big guides for.
Right.
And in that process, then I found myself ranking number 1 in Minneapolis, which is not a small city, for Minneapolis web design. So that was like then business coming from it, including, hey, you think big companies aren't using Google? Mall of America came to me as a client from that ranking.
Yeah.
And I ended up actually just bringing them into my company, like the agency I was working at, and I sold the deal. I did the information architecture and the wireframing and the web design and the development. I did all of it and I launched it and then I promoted it for that company. And I kind of realized, dude, somewhere around that point,
you're doing a lot of work here.
I should probably get all the money. You know what I mean? Like, realistically, that was the real aha moment, you know?
Yeah.
But nonetheless, like I learned a lot about SEO at that place. And then I came out on my own and I pretty quickly, in addition to my web design services, was offering search engine optimization services because I realized I knew how to do it. I had some friends that were really good at it now, and I was learning and we were learning together, and there's a lot of really cool stuff. And that was basically how I came out to be on my own. And over the last couple of years, it's been a slow journey of niching further and further into contractors. And that's a whole big story on its own too. But yeah, that was kind of the search engine optimization journey. And I realized like there are a couple activities. I'll do the brief version of this because it's kind of a pitch. Excuse me. Is there are a couple activities at that company that I had no money, and I was the marketing manager by the time I left. I had like 9 months as the marketing manager, and they didn't give me a budget for ads or anything like that. Mm-hmm. And so I just had to sit there and figure out what I could do with my time that would result in more traffic and leads on their website. And I ended up like 80% increase in leads in like 9 months. And it was
from just organic SEO.
There and more SEO. Yeah. I mean, I was doing other stuff. I was doing social, I was doing videos for them and stuff like that too. But the big bulk of it was organic SEO. And the three things I was doing with my time, I was writing big guides once again on their website. I was making landing pages and content. I was doing a lot of content. I was writing for other websites on the internet, and I had expertise in website design. So I would go out and like, hey, could I write an article about website design on your website and then link back to mine? Mm-hmm. And I didn't like push the link thing in the first email, but you know what I'm saying. And right. Then technical changes and like building out other kind of aspects on the website. I did a lot of shit. I'm oversimplifying here.
Right.
But like I did like the scholarship thing. Like I did a scholarship on the website, and I even made it so you could like submit it and I could turn it into a blog post. So like there's like 50 blog posts that we got for free, and then I had to give away one $1,000 scholarship, you know, and then
brilliant. Yeah.
It was also linked to all over on all the scholarships, all over scholarship listings all over the internet, which are a lot of like high authority edu pages.
Yep.
So like this doesn't work quite as well as it did back then, but you understand like the edu links are not as powerful. But the point is I did a lot of stuff. But those three main activities now is like the core of our search engine optimization service, which is we get links, we do content, and we do technical changes. And so, yeah, it ended up being kind of the core of the offering. I just realized these are things that I can do for other people. And I made up my own, even though I worked for an SEO company, I made up my own service. I didn't use any of their like processes. I thought I could do it better anyways. So it's, you know, I've learned more since then. I don't know if I'm that much better than my previous employer, but hey.
Yeah. So when you were getting started in this and you were kind of building out your teams for this, how did you transfer that knowledge to them? What was it? Did you get really great at SOPs? Like, what were some of the steps you took to ensure that like you weren't the only genius in the room with 1,000 slaves? Like, talk through that with me a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I did it poorly for a while, probably. We made a lot of mistakes and doing it for so many people, so many different kinds of companies. There wasn't very good memory amongst the team, you know, and like I said, I had that experience where I trained my main guy for 1 whole year and then he left.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's terrifying and terrible and like sucks. So then it's just scratching. I don't think I have the solution for this, but it's just like scratching and pulling. And then finally you start to get a couple really awesome people at the company. And then those people, you want to try to get the standard operating procedures into their hands and their jurisdiction as soon as possible. I did have a couple business coaches. One was around sales and one was around leadership along this last 5 years. And the leadership guy just basically said, okay, so you're going to have each of the main people own the SOPs for their work. And then as you start to get more people in, you'll have kind of that memory a little bit around that service. and then they have to sign off on it every year. So we have like a wiki on our website, and you can, go on Theme Forest and find a wiki theme and put it at a subdomain, and then you can get all your people to like live in there a little bit. And now we're trying to kind of elevate it into like video tutorial stuff, but it is just time until you start to get like 3 to 5 real badasses on your team that can own those standard operating procedures. And then as time goes on, the best part about being the person with an 18-person team that's really pushed people a little bit is, as leaders, is that they are now owning that stuff completely, and it's better than when I was doing it, for sure.
Right.
So I don't, I think I have the most nuts, but I don't think I have the most brains. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's entrepreneurship is a very difficult adventure, and it's actually very risky. So I get compensated very well as an entrepreneur now because I took the risk.
Yeah.
And that's extremely difficult, and not everybody wants to do that. And it's a lot of pain. So it is a lot of pain, but then you do get rewards from that pain, and you move in the right direction over time. And there's a lot of smart people in this company now besides me, and I'm really grateful for that. And you have to. For a while there, I thought I wanted to make a McDonald's. Do you ever watch The Founder?
Mm-hmm. It's a great movie.
And it's so good. It's about, basically, it feels like about process and creating consistency. And I love that. And that is really important. But you need both. You need process and consistency, and you need smart people.
Great people. Yeah.
This is not McDonald's. We're not just squirting ketchup on buns. This is kind of a granular, specific process, and you don't need just people that know how to do everything meticulously. You need people with personability and stuff like that too. So as a marketing entrepreneur, it's very difficult because you have to find people that are both good at the work and very productive, and smile and are warm and are friendly with all the clients, even when they're sometimes mean. Sometimes clients are mean. If you're one of Landon's clients and you're watching this, be nice to Landon. It's emotional. It's emotional labor to run a marketing business, and it's hard to say that. But here's the deal: we're putting our hearts out there on the line in marketing services and video and whatever else. Like, you're putting your heart out there, your creative process, and it's difficult. And people don't know that.
No, I don't think they probably do. When you were building up your company, you said that you had individual people owning the SOPs. You seem like a visionary entrepreneur. Would that be? And I guess you've got traction like right behind you.
Yes.
On your right shoulder. So how soon did you bring in your integrator?
So my integrator ended up being my wife.
Oh wow.
So she's been in since the beginning, or 4 or 5 months once I could hire her into it. And that wasn't the plan, but I needed help. And she that's a whole story in and of itself. She took a jump from her corporate job, and then and we thought it was risky. And then the next week they laid off her whole department.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That's crazy.
So life is risky, like you're not safe no matter what. So that's one reason, I guess I am kind of promoting entrepreneurship. Oops. But yeah, the integrator thing, she kind of grew into that over time, and now she's an amazing integrator. And I think kind of you need multiple. I think that it's not, I think of that role as like it's multiple people. Like you should have like 2 or 3 integrator type people, ideal scenario.
Mm-hmm. And what's when she first got started, were you guys like full on implementing traction, or did you just kind of learn about that ideology over time, or how did that go for you?
Yeah. I think probably like a year or so into it, once we started to layer on other people, we started to get into traction a little bit. It was basically just like, I didn't know what I was doing. It's so funny with entrepreneurship. Like there's no real school for it, and there's no real like certifications. You're just out here charging people money for things and fulfilling on them and like pay taxes. But like, other than that, like you just like apply with the government and then you're good. Like there's no training, so Traction, let's pull it out for the people watching. Hey, Traction is like a really basic exoskeleton for your business. And it's got kind of a lot of the simple things that corporations do that they just don't, you don't always know about when you start a business. So things like your weekly meeting and like a one pager with all the key information on it. The what do you call it? The responsibility tree, like who's accountable, our organizational chart. There's enough. Exactly. There's just a bunch of stuff in here that's really good and really simple.
Yeah.
That's for entrepreneurs. If you read this when you don't have a business, which I did before I got a business, I did not resonate with it at all.
Right.
But then once you're out on a limb and you need it, it's really, really useful. So if you are out on a limb right now and you need a basic structure to kind of run some of the key pieces of your business, this will help a lot.
Right.
And it's very easy to follow, but it is a lot. I mean, it's got a lot of really good tips, is what I mean. Yeah.
So what else have you been learning and really throwing yourself into now? SEO has been around for a long time. It's changing constantly. You were doing social for a while, doing paid acquisition for a while, search engine marketing. What are you doing right now to really stay ahead of the curve and make sure that you're not just relying on old information?
Yeah, to be honest, I push my team to make sure that they're not relying on all the information. I'm out here marketing our company and I'm trying to empower leaders within our company. As far as like services go, I believe Google will be here for the next 10 years. That's my prediction. And I'm not that good at predictions, but I got to move forward confidently in what I'm working on. So I'm creating when I just Google stuff, I look at that main page, everything that's on there. I want us to help clients be on that stuff. So whether it's Google local service ads, Google ads, the map, and the organic listing, I want people to be in all of those. And I want, I guess what it really comes down to is, where are people searching? I want to have one of the big ones. So if it's not Google in 10 years, I want to be really specialized in one of the big ways that people are searching, because search will be around no matter what. Even if we're in VR and we're laying down in a pool of fluids, there's gonna be a method by which we're searching,
Right.
So I want to be really good at helping people show up in that method, whatever it ends up being, and keeping it somewhat tight. So I don't want to be like, I don't even talk about Bing. I want to be focused on the biggest, most important search method of whatever that time period is. And I think, that's kind of where my mind goes. And you can't think too far ahead. You got to have the lantern and the light right in front of you and the next like 10 steps, and make sure you're doing what's right for your clients right now. I think some people I've seen people get so distracted. I had a guy that came into my old marketing agency and did consulting for a client around Snapchat 6-7 years ago. And we thought he was like, that's cool. This is the one guy doing Snapchat consulting. And then the next year he was a realtor. And then the next year he was a drone guy. And then the next year he's probably, you know what I'm saying? Like he's actually just really hammering his music, I think. But the point is like, there's a lot of that out there in the world right now where people are very flitting with their main thing. I mean, I'm flitting, but I'm like flitting with like, I'm going to be on memes this month, and then next month I'm going to be
marketing tactics.
Really hammering on TikTok, and then the next month, personally, I will be. But there will always be for us, well, obviously, as long as we live, this is what the service we do. There will always be a SEO strategy going on in the background that's trying to be on Google search more often. And I believe that there are certain things that are kind of like pillars. I think video is one. I think search is one. I think you should have a social strategy. I think it's not a bad idea to think about it in-house, but I think those are pillars that should be around, but then there's sub-tactics within those. I just think it's really important as a career, if you're you're pursuing your second year in entrepreneurship or something, to not like flit off to the next thing because it was hard. Like that's a very common theme in our world right now, I think. And young entrepreneurs will get distracted. The biggest life hack in the world is patience and time and moving in one direction. And with like pivots, because the market does dictate that, but like still try to use everything from, if you do pivot a little bit, like if he went from Snapchat to then TikTok, and it was only a slight pivot and he could use all the principles that he learned on the algorithm before, like he would still be utilizing so much of that learning. And I think we just need to make sure that whatever we do next, if we do pivot, utilizes all of the previous learning. We're not starting from scratch every 2 years. Otherwise, we're going to find ourselves tired.
It's good, man. It's super true. I've been on both sides of that. I've seen the tired side, and I've definitely seen the side where you actually hit focus and you feel amazing because you're just in that slipstream of entrepreneurship where you're growing. It's fun and fast, and you've got new clients coming in. People are recognizing you for who you're supposed to be, who you are, and who you want to be. And man, the opposite of that is really hard because it's a lot of like skepticism of like, they do this thing, but do they do that thing? And so that's super good. I'm glad that you've gone through that journey and you're on the other side of it. I'm glad I also went through that journey. I'm on the other side of it. It feels really good. I would never do it again. If I could go back and tell myself, I would be like, dude, just do one thing, get to $1 million and literally never touch anything else until you touch $1 million. Yeah. Like, that's it. Yeah. And I think that's such easy advice. It's simple advice, but it's not easy. Simple, not easy. And, that's, I think if anybody's listening to this and they're starting a business, like really, really think about that. Like, how can you optimize and monetize one thing to get to $1 million? Because that will teach you so many lessons along the way. Because you think about it, like, what all do you have to get right around if one variable stays the same always? Well, then you have to get your marketing right. You got to get your sales cycle right. You've got to get your branding, all the different packets or anything. If you're selling in person, if it's a local business, I mean, there's so many things you have to get right. And if you keep skipping to the next thing, you never actually have to get any of those right. You just have to get like a small percentage right, and then you just kind of hop to the next one. So I'm really grateful I never got into SEO and pretended I was good at SEO, but that was about the only thing that we didn't do. Yeah.
Hey, I'm so glad I didn't really get into video because hey, let me give you a little cautionary tale. Somebody that worked with us for video.
Okay.
I wish we had done a great job. They at the last second wanted us. They said, "Please do this video," and I said, "We're not that great, but I hope it's okay. Is it all right if we just try?" And because we didn't have the standard operating procedures around it, because we were trying to do this all of a sudden, and it was a very important video with a very well-known personality. I'll just say it because I don't think they're going to watch this, but if they do, hi. It was this, I won't say the company name, but I will say it was Andrew Zimmern, who's like the most well-known like Minnesota chef. And it ended up being terrible. The video ended up being really bad. And, or at least like it was good, but it was kind of held on to the back by like clothespins, you know what I'm saying? and then they needed edits.
Yeah.
And we didn't have any more, like we had like done a lot of work to get that footage.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is it. The footage was bad.
This is the best we could possibly make it. And there is no version 2.
Yeah. And that person, we're not going to get that opportunity again to film with that person because they're famous and that was like a lot for them. And so it just, they didn't get the what they needed out of that thing. I mean, I still ended up putting that video out on our YouTube, and like I wish they would have used the actual original version, because the one that they ended up using wasn't very good for marketing anyways. But
That happens.
the point is that's the difference between working with a company that's just trying to do video and a company that does video,
Right.
and knows what they're doing and can foresee the problems before they happen. We just didn't have that. I was trying to become that, but we didn't have that at the time. So
Yeah.
it's basically, I'm just saying, like, people could be deciding between you and that. Probably there's a lot of marketing companies around your area and in your niches that like kind of do video
And 700 other things. Yeah. It's a thing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
100%.
yeah.
It's a good cautionary tale for sure. As we kind of round out to the end of our time, I want to give you an opportunity to share a few of your favorite books. What are some books that are so great that you've read them more than once?
Sure. Talked about traction. I'm gonna throw this one out here for you. I think you might like this one. The Pumpkin Plan by
Never heard
Mike
of it.
Michalowicz. It's the same guy that did Profit First, which is one of his
Okay.
more famous ones. He talks about how you should push into your big strategic clients and really grow prize-winning pumpkins, is the analogy.
I love it.
I'll throw out these two. The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone.
Yep.
This is about how you need to make bigger goals and say, what would I have to do to hit that ginormous goal?
Right.
And start doing the stuff that you would do if you had to hit that ginormous goal. And then the E-Myth is
Such a good one.
so some of you guys have already read these books, but I'll just say what my kind of key principle in this is. It comes down to you should be making the processes in your business and create a culture of making processes in your business so that you can reproduce yourself or reproduce the other people in your company. And I think nowadays, that is a little bit around video and creating video for people in your team and creating video, having your leaders create videos for the other people. And that's I think the way we can scale some of this, because I don't think people read as much. I don't think your employees read as much as you'd like them to.
Yeah, I mean that's some do, some don't. I mean, people learn differently, especially like creative individuals. Teaching somebody 3-point lighting or 5-point lighting through a book is pretty awful. Showing them how it's used cinematically in a Marvel movie is pretty dope. And they watch that.
Exactly.
I would say that's a lot of our team. They find themselves watching a lot of like lighting tricks and different things you can do to get the effect that you're looking for. And that's why YouTube has been such a godsend. But thank you for sharing those. We got the Pumpkin Plan, the E-Myth, and then what was the? I'm sorry,
10X.
I didn't write down the 10X Rule. Yeah, the 10X Rule with Grant Cardone.
Yeah.
I remember reading that about 4 years ago. It's a great book. So I love it.
I've definitely read those three probably at least 2 or 3 times. So.
Any parting pieces of advice or anything I should have asked you that I didn't?
No, not necessarily. Just just a reminder for all of us, how are you consuming content right now? Push into the way you enjoy consuming content, and don't assume your business has to be on 3 strategies ago, because that's what the course said. You know what I mean? Education doesn't go as fast as even business entrepreneur education course world. Even YouTube videos from 3 years ago are out of date sometimes. Like, so the point is like, I'm on Reels. I'm looking on TikTok. Could you be there? And kind of like consume the way you want to, and follow people that inspire you, and try to create content in the way that you're currently consuming it. I think that's an important reminder.
That's super good. Awesome, dude. Well, tell people how they can get a hold of you and Hook Agency if they need some help with really search engine marketing, websites. Give it a little plug for yourself here.
Yeah, hookagency.com. We serve contractors, and we have a lot of roofers. We're very good at 3 things: SEO, paid ad management and website design for contractors. So we'd love to be of service, and we have a culture of like respecting the trades, and I think that helps us have the right mindset when we're going in and marketing these things for you. So
yeah, it's good having the background around it to understanding your customer to a better level. If you do 20, 30, 40 different projects with the same customer, you're really getting a 360 view of anything that they could be running into. So that's awesome, dude.
We know what questions to ask. I think that's the best part when you niche, is you know what questions to ask to get the best information.
Yeah.
I think when you talk to people that aren't niched, they might hear something you say and they're like, oh, that might be a differentiating feature. And I can say, no, everyone says that. Let's burrow a little deeper on what really makes you special.
That's super good. Yeah, that's super good, man. Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on the show today, man. This has been great.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, Landon.
You bet, buddy. Guys, that's going to do it for another episode of Spark to Fire. If you want to connect with Tim, I highly recommend following him on Facebook. He is hilarious. All of the roofing memes, and I'm sure there's going to be more types of content that he continues to create. So, you got something?
So Facebook.com/invigorated is how you follow me on Facebook. So
invigorated.
Just the word invigorated. Invigorated. Yep.
Love it. Okay. Then now they know how to get to you. Because you do have somewhat of a common name, Tim Browns. There's probably a lot of Tim Browns out there.
Yeah. Yeah. You're never going to be able to find me.
Way easier to just learn how to spell invigorated and start there.
I'm an internet gray man. Exactly.
I love it.
Sir.
Guys, that's going to wrap it up for this episode. Make sure you leave us a written review and a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. That is the best way to help more cool people come on the show like Tim. And appreciate your time and attention and for listening to another episode of the show. Keep striking.